Hello YouTube, and welcome to an all-new Elder Scrolls lore video. Today we're talking about the creatures which lurk in the seas around Tamriel, in an extent which dwell in the oceans all around Nirn. With this video I got some researching help by my friend Dragon, so a huge thanks to him. And now, let's immediately start with the video. So, to start with, most of these creatures that we find in this video dwell in the seas around Tamriel, as we don't have a lot of information about the oceans around Nirn and what lives in them. But of course there are some exceptions that we'll talk about in this video. Let's first talk about a gigantic and now extinct creature which used to roam northern Tamriel and the Sea of Ghosts back in ancient times. This immense creature, while now extinct, can still be found in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, although it's only its gigantic carapace. I'm talking about the Emperor Crab, a gigantic arthropod which roamed Vvardenfell in the days of the Chimer. They were so immense that the shell of one of them named Scar, became the main area of the city of Alderun. Even the smallest among the Emperor Crabs were the size of cathedrals, and the biggest of them were even bigger than that. Some in-universe scholars believe that these creatures were quite intelligent and that they apparently pursued some divine goals in their time. But most scholars believe that the Emperor Crabs let go of these divine pursuits in favor of more mundane satisfactions, after which they eventually evolved into the modern day mud crabs. This is the only extinction theory that we have on these Emperor Crabs. That said, in the Creation Club of Skyrim we have the Fishing Creation, which you can fight the spirit of one of these immense creatures using catapults. Here we can see how absolutely massive this one already is, and judging by the sizes of the carapace that we can find in Alderun, of Scar, and the legends from literature, this spirit seems to be one of the smaller ones. Anyway, let's move on to more mundane examples of things that we can find in Nirn's oceans before we move on to the more exciting things again. First of all, we've got regular crabs, barnacles, horkers, octopuses, and even narwhals from our own universe living in the oceans of Nirn. We've also got whales from our own universe. On Nirn they're found primarily on the Abyssinian Sea and the Sea of Ghosts. They were revered by the ancient Nords in their totemic pantheon as a representation of Stun, god of ransom. Although one very specific creature that I would like to mention are the Chabloon, a small flightless bird found along the snowy northern coasts of Tamriel, concentrated around Hrothgar in High Rock and Hafingar in Skyrim. They're often found huddling in large groups to keep body heat, and they're very similar in shape to prehistoric penguins of our own universe. They are docile creatures and they will run away from any danger. In food chains and habitat matters they are competing directly with the horkers, as in the horkers eat them and they also compete for the same fish and the same living space. So, now let's head to some stranger creatures again. First of all we got the sea drakes. These sea drakes are huge ocean-dwelling beasts living reportedly on the seas southeast of Tamriel, just below Blackmarsh, which makes swimming in that area a highly dangerous endeavor according to the local Argonians. The actual form of these sea drakes is not actually shown or described in a lot of detail in the lore or in the games, but usually they're said to have the shape of a crocodile but with paddles instead of legs. So they could look something like the prehistoric beast of our own world, the Mosasaurus. One of the dinosaurs that I personally find very interesting, and the idea that a gigantic variant of such a beast is actually dwelling in Nirn's oceans is very interesting to me. Considering its size and description, they are likely on top of the oceanic food chain in the area and a terror for any creature coming too close. I personally theorize that they may be distant gigantic cousins of the slaughterfish, flesh-eating fish that predominantly live in the rivers and lakes of Tamriel, so we won't talk about them here, but their relation to the sea drakes is just an afterthought theory by me personally. Another sea creature living in the sea southwest of Tamriel, so in a completely different area, is the Jagra. Hostile sea creatures, they are native to the Somerset Isles and the seas around them. They appear in various forms and depending on their life stage, such as the larvae, huge crab-like monstrosities, the slightly more humanoid Jagra spewer, and the spiky variant, the Jagra strider. It's said that they serve the sea sloths and that they may have been altered by them in some way to serve them better. The Jagra have a very specific societal hierarchy, with the larvae serving as workers and minions, and the fully grown Jagra monstrosities and striders serving as the fighters and dominant leaders. We can find these creatures in the Elder Scrolls Online as minions of the Abyssal Geezers, but they are said to have their own large colonies in the seas, where all of the different types of them live together. That said, another creature which has an appearance in our own world and in the Elder Scrolls universes is the dolphin, which we can find in the Elder Scrolls Redguard. They're intelligent mammals only appearing in the Abyssinian Sea as far as we know. So far they were only seen off the coast of Stros M'Kai and Hammerfell, but it wouldn't be impossible for them to appear in other seas around Tamriel as well. There's also another variant of the dolphin appearing in the Elder Scrolls universe, the porpoise, a subspecies of dolphin that lives in the Etheric Ocean around the continent of Piandene. They are constantly hunted by the Marmor for their blissfulness and joy, but also for their hide, often used in Piandenean clothing and armor. Since they exist in our world, there's not much to be said about the porpoise. I mean, Google them, you'll find some information. Another creature which is heavily associated with Piandene and doesn't appear in our own world is the sea serpent. These sea serpents are large sea monsters native to Piandene, and they're often used by the Marmor as steeds and war beasts in support of their navy. It's said that this is possible due to the magic of their king, King Orgnum. They are shown to be of great importance to Marmor culture, since serpents are a big part of their iconography. Their hide and teeth are also commonly used in Marmor crafting. These creatures can grow to massive heights and lengths. We can find one in the Elder Scrolls Online during the Aldmeri Dominion questline, but from what we can see of their skeletons, they can grow even bigger than that, although they don't seem to be bigger than the great sea drakes mentioned earlier. A final creature linked to the Marmor of Piandene are the Reef Vipers, sometimes also called sea adders. They're winged serpents that are highly hostile ambush predators. They're not native to Tamriel, being an invasive species brought to Tamriel by the Marmor, the sea elves. And they are also found on the Somerset Isles and their surroundings, anywhere where you can basically find the Marmor. They were used by the Marmor as pets or as war companions, much like dogs, and they're known to be obedient and smart when domesticated. A creature more familiar to people who've played multiple Elder Scrolls games that lives in Elder Scrolls Oceans is the Drogue, an ancient species of aquatic beastfolk that can live solely on land during very select stages of their life. They have much, and then I mean much, to be said about them, as there's a lot of lore about them, so I'll save their lore for a separate video. But for now we can say that they are dangerous and aggressive species of beastfolk that live in all the oceans around Tamriel and often pose a threat to fishermen and travelers, using not only their pincers and legs and tentacles, but also dangerous shock magic. Again, they are a subject all for themselves for a future video, someday in the future, so let's save them for a video someday. A creature we don't know for sure exists in Nirn Seas are the Mermaids, also known as Selkie, being mythical creatures with the upper body of a young woman and the lower body of a fish. Their nature is unknown, since it's not actually known if they exist for real in the Elder Scrolls universe, but it's possible that the stories of mermaids have originated from fishermen who've seen glimpses of swimming nereids, also referred to as water sprites. They are humanoid feminine water spirits that live along the coast, singing angelic melodies that can mesmerize whoever hears it. They are practitioners of water magic, an obscure area of magic, and they are either hostile or tolerant to people's presence, although the latter is far more uncommon. They are very similar to Spriggans in a sense, in which they also protect their native environment from any threats. Spriggans would be earth or nature spirits, and Nereids would be water spirits. The Nereids also exist as legends in our own world, being from the Greek mythology. They were also feminine water spirits, and they were daughters of the old Greek god Nereus, hence the name Nereids. That said, we have come now to my favorite creature rumored to live in the deep Etheric Ocean. I'm talking about the mighty Uthgulior, a mythical creature said to live in the Etheric Ocean near the coast of Hyrog. Legends say that it's an immortal and gigantic leviathan that lives in the deepest parts of the ocean. It's described to have an oily back and an absolutely disgusting stench, terrible enough to be described as a foul wind blown from oblivion. It's not known if the Uthgulior actually exists, but it's definitely worth a mention since it exists in some legends and sounds very cool to me. With that behind us, we have basically covered most of the interesting sea creatures that we know about. Let me know if I missed some. Yes, even with the help of Mr. Nerd Dragon, I couldn't really find any more info that was not presented here. That said, if you enjoyed this video, consider watching some of my other Elder Scrolls lore videos on the Elder Scrolls universe, or maybe return next week for the next Elder Scrolls lore video. And as always, before I end this video, allow me to vocally mention my top Patreon supporters: Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, Athena Hyotis, Polarized Poutine, Sarah Mikhail, Sort of Bushido, and Mr. Christmas. These amazing people, along with all the others on screen, keep this channel alive, and for that I am very grateful. That said, I will see you all next time in the next Elder Scrolls lore video. Bye bye.